Hi, everyone. I'm Cary Broussard, and welcome to Cinderella CEO On Air, where we feature real life Cinderella stories. I'm so excited because we're launching a new series of 5 podcast interviews, each one of them based around finance, each with a specific topic and special game changer guest. You will love these guests. You'll hear tips for raising capital from investors. We'll go inside the decisions of who gets funded, who scales, and the dynamics of who's behind venture led capital and how to meet them.
To be a CEO performer at any level in today's modern work world, tune into all the podcast episodes of Cinderella CEO On Air. Cinderella success stories, CEO interviews, mentoring techniques, and more.
Today, I'm very excited to kick off this series with a woman who you all need to know. Her name is Michelle Bernier. She is Chief of Staff at Liberty Ventures Network, and she oversees a venture capital ecosystem, 20,000 business leaders across the globe that invest in each other. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, Cary. Very nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It is so great to have you here. And it is one of the real joys for me to do a podcast like this is I get time with you to talk about things that I've wanted to talk to you about for a long time. I'm a member of Liberty Ventures. You've just impressed me along the way just by your approachability, but also how your background has really shaped you. And not everybody out there has a background like you do. You've been a startup mentor with Verizon. I want to
Yes.
talk to you about that. You've diligenced over 20 startups, and you're a member of the Forbes Business Council. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very, very recent, but also very pleasant as well, because it all started as well as just when I was younger and I was looking for role models. And I saw, people like you, like other members in the Liberty Ventures Network, and I saw their careers, people very successful, right? And so where they are, why they are who they are, why they are successful. And I realized that it's all starts with the network of people who supports you, who are great partners to work with, and who just want to get the best version of yourself. So I always thought of, hey, you have to be surrounded in the right circles and meeting the right people. And with this, I mean not only people with influence or success, but I mean people with aligned values.
You worked on SpaceX, you worked on other startups. Tell us about some of these things and something called the Hustle Fund. What are those?
Yes. So let's start, I think, with the first thing, the startup mentor with Verizon. I think that's where all the career started.
And where was
Basically,
this? Where was this? Where were you living then?
I was living in Colombia, but this was all online.
So that's okay because we're all online now, right?
Yeah.
But you have your Cinderella story. It is it's amazing. You escape experiences in Venezuela that most people listening today cannot even imagine.
Yes.
And so I mean, not that you gloss over that, but you don't dwell on it. You just took your experience escaping Venezuela, moving to Colombia, now living in the United States. Can you share some of the details that you're comfortable with that drove you to overcome those circumstances and beat the odds of somebody surviving those circumstances to get to a point where you worked with Verizon and now working with Liberty Ventures? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So in Venezuela, like growing up in Venezuela was really, really hard because it is a country with little to none opportunity. I mean, it is a country where I remember we used to not have electricity for about 8 hours every day. So that is
Oh my
like
gosh.
a worship. And It was very hard to work, to attend meetings. I was just telling a friend the other day that the way that we saw classes online was through WhatsApp groups because we didn't have access to internet
So
or
that
to
was you did instead of using Zoom or Microsoft Teams, you used WhatsApp.
WhatsApp groups. Yes. So
Wow.
the
Wow.
professor will do a WhatsApp group with all the class and he will close the group chat to send voice notes with the content for the class. And that's, how we will learn. And
And how old were you then?
I grew up in Venezuela all of my life
Yeah.
but when I was studying, I was between 16 to 19. That's when I graduated.
And when you graduated at 19, is that when you moved out of Venezuela?
Yes. So growing up in Venezuela, I think one of the hardest things to listen to was the government always saying that it was that the business leaders were the people to blame, right? Like I remember when with electricity, now that I provided this sample, I remember the president telling us, "Oh, this is because of the electricity company CEO. It's against me, and that's why he's cutting off electricity." And at that moment, being
You
so
believed it.
young, I mean, I'm talking. I was born the day that Chavez was elected, so I grew up like this.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
for me, being so young and receiving that information of like, okay, yes, this is the fault of a greedy business leader. But for me, none of that never clicked. And then I researched more and I found out, oh, well, electricity, it's a public company. It's actually owned by the government. So like,
Mm.
why why would this even be said? And so I remember that I then took a very strong side on entrepreneurship. And I thought like, if something were to save Venezuela was through entrepreneurship and human flourishing, because I thought that entrepreneurship was the pathway to take people out of poverty and to uplift them and to create more jobs and prosperity for society. So I,
Wow.
at the moment, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So I joined an organization called Students for Liberty, who helps promote the principles of free market and the conditions for more people to be entrepreneurs and to
Mm.
lead a better future. And I became the national coordinator. I remember when I joined, there was only 3 people. I was the only woman. And I just started to do more events, how to become an entrepreneur, how to tell your story,
And were
be a
you doing a
leader.
lot of that on WhatsApp?
Yes, a lot
What?
of that on WhatsApp because actually we met in person, right? I remember one time we met in person and we had police officers outside because they
Wow.
could arrest us for talking about, hey, we want a free markets, we want a free society, we want a limited government. And so we had to be very careful about how we were promoting the ideas, but we started with only 3 people and then it grew up to 80 people and then more people wanted to know more. And
Wow.
so basically, um,
It just kept growing.
it just
It-
kept growing the interest, from
Mhm.
people about how to improve their life.
Wow.
And, but at the same time, I became a target. I mean, the government didn't like that I was out there telling these ideas to people and just teaching people about this. I
Yeah.
was scared. I mean, I think I never realized how bad it was
Mhm.
because in my mind I wasn't doing anything wrong, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so
Right.
I think I never realized the impact that it could have until the day of my graduation. I graduated as an attorney, and in that day I received a call that my mother has been kidnapped.
Oh my gosh.
And in
And
that
where
moment,
when you graduated as an attorney, were you still living in Venezuela?
so I graduated as an attorney, but I actually couldn't attend my graduation
Mm.
because I was in Idaho, Lewiston, Idaho,
Okay.
for an
Again, you had
exchange
all that
program.
you escaped all these things through an exchange program. Fantastic.
Yeah, so I did an
Wow.
exchange program in Lewiston, Idaho, and I was studying there when I received the call in that day of my graduation because my mother went to receive my degree for me. That's why she was there. And so
Wow.
I received the call, hey, your mother has been kidnapped.
Oh my
We
God.
will release her if you come back.
Oh my gosh. And who kidnapped her?
That's a very complicated topic.
Okay.
The thing is with Venezuela, and the reason why it's so complicated is because the government sometimes operates through civilians, to
Hmm.
people, just
Sure.
citizens,
Sure.
because the government knows that if they go with the government official uniform, they could get in issues, with international law, with human rights law, and that could add up into their
Uh-huh.
cases that they have in the international court and
Uh-huh.
the United Nations and all of those different organizations. So what they do is that they pay a normal citizen, to go with normal clothes, like as another
Hmm.
person,
Hmm.
and they give them arms and weapons to kind of, yes,
And then Michelle, is your mom okay today? Did you get her
yes,
out? Okay.
yes. Right now, she's in Houston with me
Oh,
as well.
good.
We all
Oh,
live in
good.
Houston.
Tell your
Yeah.
mom hello. And we're so
Yes.
glad she's safe. So here is and that okay, that's a whole podcast in and of itself,
Yeah.
what you have had to go through. But I wanted to lay that foundation for people to understand that your grit and your smarts and your abilities have been honed, not only as a lawyer and an advisor to growing businesses, especially startup businesses, but growing the organization, Liberty Ventures, is really, kind of unprecedented at your age, has been through, I'm not saying it's unprecedented around the world, but just for me to get to talk to somebody who has gone through something like this, I have such admiration and empathy for what you've gone through. And you've done things like designed projects to support victims of armed conflict who have launched or who are in the midst of launching small businesses. And you've received a Global Peace Ambassador Award for doing this kind of work. And now to have your abilities and again, I've always sensed this strong empathy from you. You're working with high net worth individuals, but you're also very open to making sure everybody has access to this network. And that's really what we're going to talk about now is, how do women founders build businesses that you've seen that investors say yes to? That's one, as we
Mhm.
focus on that, starting with that. And again, we're probably going to touch on going back to some of the things you've had to go through to get you to be at a young age that you are, to be able to see a big scope, a global scope for businesses. And you've seen businesses all over the world and you continue to
Yeah.
see more. Tell us a little bit about what you've seen that women founders and the people who fund them, how they connect, and what do you think are some of the ways that set women founders apart?
Yeah. So the women founders that I have seen successfully raise capital, not only through Liberty Ventures, but also through other multiple channels and networks, I think they share a group of certain things that they do. And this is just a pattern that I have seen. And not only with women founders, but I believe with entrepreneurs in general, it
Hmm.
is important to demonstrate the actual customer demand. Like, one of the things that I've noticed is that I see in pitch decks a lot of projections like, oh, once we get this amount of investment, then we will buy this land and then we will put energy there, and then um, X amount of people will buy it at this price. And then that doesn't show me anything. This is really not a proof. I mean, yes, it is a proof of concept that you can maybe get to that point of revenue and return on investment, but it really doesn't tell me anything. It is just calculations, right? But when you prove, hey, I'm solving this problem, and I have a person, I have a group of people that can actually testify, hey, yes, I had this issue, and now I don't, because this product works. So I think those are the founders who really make it to the cut. Because right
Yeah.
now there is just a lot of financial projections and a lot of pretty well designed decks. But more than that, it's important to show that there is real interest in what you're building.
Mhm.
Because as an investor, something for me might be interesting, but is other people actually looking at this and willing to buy it?
Yeah. And so
Um,
it's interesting. You said, of course, you have to have a well-designed deck. That goes without saying
yes,
that you've got to, and a good presentation.
yes,
But really it's okay, well, what just really basic, what problem are you solving and who have you solved it for? And what are they saying you did that's different? What's your point of difference?
yes.
And
But
then,
also
yeah,
show
well,
that they are willing to buy, right? Because not all customers, not all clients, they might like your product,
hmm
they might like it if it's free, if it's a demo, if it's the free version. Like I,
hmm
for example, I use the free version of Zoom. I'm not a customer of Zoom, but will other people buy the Zoom premium plans? Or
yeah.
will they just use the free version? I think
Mhm.
that's what you need to show. You need to show that people, that you can solve a problem, but that people will pay to get it solved. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's really makes sense. And then so I'm doing that calculation in my head about my own business. And then if somebody listening to this were to say, okay, so yeah, I have people who I'm solving problems for. How do I get into a network that I can get in front of people to see that I'm solving these problems and
Hmm.
ask for money?
Hmm.
And how much do I ask for?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that some of the strongest founders that I have worked with were not the most connected initially. So I have worked with a lot of founders who, as you mentioned, didn't know where to start, didn't know how much to ask. They were like kind of testing the waters, right?
Hmm.
And so I think that it's important to start with something, 0 to 1. If you
Yeah.
don't have a network, if you don't know anybody, if you don't have any friends or family members who are in the entrepreneurship world, like me, for example, I'm one of them. Try looking in Luma, in Eventbrite, in any of these apps in your city. One event, one happy hour, one reception, one pitch competition. Then you can sign up and attend as a participant and just show up. I think, as again, some of the strongest founders didn't have the largest network when they started because they were just starting out. That's normal. But I think what they have in common is that they show up consistently. People
Mm.
need to see you coming
Yes.
in, and I think people need to see you doing the sacrifices that it takes to be
Yes.
an entrepreneur. And
That's such great advice.
they need to see you struggling to ask
Yeah.
for money because
And
it is hard.
that's so counterintuitive because you
Yeah.
think when you walk into the room, you want to seem as if you're the most successful person in the world. You can get through anything, but you're
Yeah.
saying it's okay to, I mean, are you saying it's okay to be
Yeah.
vulnerable?
It's totally okay, but people need to see you showing up and seeing that growth and that kind of grit from you, right?
What
So
was the
yeah,
first one you said? You mentioned Eventbrite, but you said Luma?
yeah, Luma, Eventbrite. There is many platforms. LinkedIn sometimes has events as
LinkedIn, of
well.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you can check.
Mhm.
But in general, focus on your city and look for an event where you know that other founders or other investors will be at and start talking with them. Some
Mhm.
of the things and some of the reasons why you're afraid of asking for money, of leading around, of doing something is because you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So what you need is access to information. You need to know what will investors say if they see your deck. What will they think? Because if you know that what they will think is that it's a great product and they would like to invest right away, then you wouldn't be afraid of asking for money. But
Interesting.
because you don't know what they're gonna say, that's why you're afraid. So to beat that
Yeah.
sentiment of fear, you need to find information.
I
And so,
remember being invited, Alexander McCoben, who is the CEO of your organization, Liberty Ventures.
yes.
He invited me to an event in Dallas with investors. I
Mm,
didn't realize that investors were even going to be there because I knew Alexander from Conscious Capitalism when he was head of that organization. But to be in the room with investors, just to begin to hear the language and what they're discussing, that's also part of it, like kind of like a jump rope. The
yeah,
jump rope's going, you're trying to jump in the jump rope, and boom, you can get in there, and who knows, you can do the hots, as they say.
yeah,
And so, that is what I think you're also describing is
yes,
being around that network. And that's what I think Liberty Ventures does so well
yeah,
is that your founders, your investors, those who are looking for companies to invest in, they're not trying to put up a wall of hey, I'm too cool for school. It's more, hey, I'm genuinely looking for people who have great businesses that are fundable and scalable. Do I have that right?
yes. No, that's 100%. I think we are proud of not only having a big network, because we have 20,000 people right now in the network, and these are executives, entrepreneurs, investors. But I think it's the quality of the network as well. That is really nice people. I think when you come to one of our events, you can see that people want to help you and people want to see you growth and they will give you advice. And I mean, I think the key then is to show up to these kind of groups where there is tons of people who want to help you, but just you don't know, you just don't know. You
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
what people is gonna think, and that's when the fear starts, and you start
And,
doubting yourself.
and your website is libertyventuresnetwork.com. You're on LinkedIn, of course. So, I highly recommend people do check out libertyventuresnetwork.com. It is a place to connect with businesses who have values. It's not exclusionary. It's
Mm,
inclusive. So no matter, really, I'm an independent as a political person. I've been a Republican, I've been a Democrat. I feel like I'm more of an independent now. It's not about politics. It is really about, yes, am I correct in saying that?
yes,
That
it is about the values. So
it is about the values. Tell us more about that.
everyone in the network shares the same values. We all believe, and there is a manifesto, by the way, in our website, that we kind of outline what are Liberty Ventures values. People can read it and then sign it as well. If you like what you read, you can sign and say, hey, yes, I signed this manifesto, I believe in what this says. But in general, we believe that freedom is the opportunity to choose
Mhm.
and to have options. And that's the main thing. You are
Yeah,
not forced to do anything. You have options. You can choose to do this, you can choose to do that, but there's many things that you can do, right?
I love
And
that.
then the other thing that we believe is that innovation, like business drives innovation, and innovation drives progress of society. And everyone wants to be better than they were yesterday. But the way to actually get to level up humanity, it's gonna be through business. I, for example, as you mentioned, have the background in corporate law. I have the background in the nonprofit world, but I choose venture capital. I choose entrepreneurship. I choose to do this because this is what's gonna save the world. This is the future. That's what I believe.
And it's a
And
global perspective that you
yes,
have, and it's a global perspective that Liberty Ventures had. So somebody
yes,
coming into this from another country, not just the United States,
yes,
so somebody would not say, in
yes,
particular, I'm a Democrat or Republican because
yes.
they're in another country and they don't categorize themselves.
I
In
love that
that.
you mentioned that. I love that you mentioned that because that's actually one of my favorite values of the network, and it's opportunity in the network. And I have seen personally that anyone can rise. Anyone
Mhm.
can get the job, anyone can get the funding, anyone can get the opportunity. I think I'm a live testament to that. I mean,
Yes.
I came here with $0, and I didn't have a background in venture capital. I didn't know any investors or founders. My family is not an entrepreneur. There's no
Yeah.
entrepreneurs in my family. English is my second language, and yet today I'm here as the second highest executive at Liberty Ventures, and this is just so amazing because in my country where I come from, right, you will have to either marry someone to get here or pay someone or have a very fancy last name.
Yeah.
And I don't have neither of those things. But here in under capitalism, anyone can thrive. It is really about your mind. And I think that's why I love the word capitalism. I think for a lot of people, it's a word that has a lot of baggage, but I love the word because it comes from the word kaput, which means mind. And it means that you produce what is on your own mind with your own merit. And that's what I love the most about this network.
And you just embody what you say. Those aren't just words. You literally, your life is an example
Yeah,
of that. And when I'm around you and when others are around you, we feel that. We feel the inclusivity that you and Alexander bring, as well as just kind of modeling that behavior is really apparent. And you'll be at South by Southwest, right?
that's in
Yeah.
March 13. So South by
March 13th.
Southwest is from March 12th to the 18th, but we will have an event there on March 13, 5:30 p.m. And it will be a reception, and we will also have a live pitch competition from early stage founders and entrepreneurs who are gonna go there, pitch their product, be courageous, be brave, and then they will receive feedback from the judges, and the winner will get the chance to go to Necker Island with an scholarship to pitch to Richard Branson himself. So
So
it's,
that's Necker Island. The
yes,
pitch competition will be March 13th in Austin, Texas. And
yes.
people maybe those entrepreneurs have already signed up for that competition, but people can go watch this competition.
Yes,
Okay.
you can still sign up because the deadline is actually February 24th. So if you're an
Okay. Oh,
entrepreneur
great.
watching this and you're in
Great.
Texas, you can definitely still sign up.
Okay. They
And
need to be in Texas. They need to be in Texas.
no, they
Okay.
can be based all over the US.
Okay.
But in general, I mean, if you're in Texas, if you're in Austin, and you're not coming to this event, you are definitely missing out. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely going to be there, by the way. And then so the access to more people, access to the network
Yeah.
of investors in is who you and venture capitalists, that's the win from this competition. And then ideally there'll be a connection or connections made. Well, you will meet somebody whether you win the competition or not. You'll
Yes.
meet people who will be interested in your business. And if you were to do a synopsis of, okay, 3 points a growing business would need to showcase in that competition. If you had to pick three things off the top of your head, and I won't
Hmm.
hold you to it, but
Yeah.
does it have to be a technology company, for instance?
No.
Okay, doesn't have to be a technology company.
No.
What kind of companies do you think people are looking for that are investing?
So definitely right now, I cannot deny that there is a lot of interest in AI, automations, in agents. That's a conversation. But if you're really in other industry, like you don't need to be in technology or in AI to be seen. If
Mm.
you are in other industries like crypto, like financial wealth, health, consumer, food and beverage, all of those industries are welcome, and they are receiving tons of millions of investment every day as well. So there is room for everybody. So I think that the three main things that you will need to prove, again, is not as much about the industry, but the three main things that you will need to prove. First, scalability. I think a lot of people confuse this with, yeah, I have a system and I have a team that can execute that system. So then I'm scalable. No, that's not what scalability means. Scalability means that you can do one thing one time,
Mm,
and that time it will work for hundreds of people. So think about it this way. I explained this yesterday.
mhm,
If your product solves an issue, and we talk about it, like how important it is for your product to actually solve a real painful problem that a huge
mhm,
market has, right?
mhm,
If your product is the one who solves it, right? And 1 million people discover your solution tomorrow, could
mhm,
they use it? I think that's the main question. If
mm.
1 million people discovered your product, the solution to their problem tomorrow, could they use it right away? And when you look at ChatGPT and OpenAI and all the success of these companies, that's really what happened. I mean, someone said, there is this thing, ChatGPT. And then the next day, everyone was on that and everyone could use it. And I think it really was 1 million people in a day. I
Oh
think
gosh,
that's
yeah,
the
I think you're right.
number.
If not
So
more.
really,
Hmm.
yes, I think that was a number, but really that's scalability. When you can have a business that if tomorrow people, 1 million people discover you, they can actually use your product or your service, right? So that's really scalability,
And
repeatable growth.
repeatable, I love that.
Yes.
And then, okay, so one of the things that we do at Cinderella CEO and Broussard Global is we focus on helping companies build out their cultures and
Mhm.
really the internal value system, really,
Yeah.
that you bring. And this is, again, one of the things that Liberty Ventures is very known for is the values of finding companies that have a culture that connects into a free market system, but
Yeah.
also treats their people well, um, brings something to society that is a benefit to society. That's
Yeah.
another part of, and the people that work within the company have a purpose.
Yeah.
They're not just doing it as a transaction. Depending on it, I would have to go back and look at Chat GPT's. I think there's controversy around it, but I'm not going to go into that. We all love it. I think everybody said yes out there. The more than 1 million people that Chat GPT definitely is solving problems, and many other platforms with these LLMs. But if you looked at how important, as a company grows, how important is the culture to a company that is growing and scalable? Do investors look at that?
Is the most important thing. In Liberty Ventures is sometimes the only thing we look at. Today, for example, in the morning, I received a deal for a very interesting opportunity. It's a $1 trillion market with a founder that has been very successful in the past, and he is being backed one by some of like the three main key players in technology. So definitely, from an investor standpoint, that opportunity was definitely hard to not look at, right?
Yeah,
But
sure.
I say this morning to my investment team, I said, I don't know if this person is values aligned. I
Mm,
mean, what it's building is great, but I don't know anything about him. I don't know him. So I
wow.
don't trust
Yeah.
to put
So
my
the numbers
capital
could look
there.
good. Numbers could look good. The
Yeah,
story could
numbers
be
could look
good.
good. Yes.
It's really important to
I
keep
say
numbers.
this morning, and I can show you the message that I sent, but I say this morning, I don't know the founder. I don't
Mhm,
know. I don't trust. Because
mhm.
if I don't see the values, if I don't see the culture, I don't know. That's why, besides Liberty Ventures, we also have Principal Business, which is our nonprofit arm. And in
Yeah.
Principal Business, we lead courses, accelerator, those pitch competitions. And normally, before even Liberty Mentors writes a check, these founders are part of the ambassador program or the pitch competition or the accelerator programs or the online courses. But what I mean is that before we write a check, we have already met the founders several times. We have worked with them. We know their team. We know what they're doing. They have show up consistently,
Awesome.
more than one time. So definitely that's something we take very seriously. And I think that culture in a company shows investors how decision will be made under pressure. I think when investors receive a deck, again, it can be very pretty, the deck, it can have very pretty financial projections, you can even have a lot of revenue under the table, and that is all good. But I think the main question is that the investor is asking themselves, it's, can this founder really execute this? Can this really bring this to vision? Can this founder recruit a strong talent and maintain them? Like, can they have a healthy team relationship? Can they build partnership with others? Because they know that it's not gonna be only you. It's not gonna be only this idea. It's gonna pivot with time, and you're gonna need partners to help you do that. Is this person someone that really, look at partnerships as a win-win-win, or just as a win? Is it a person that people and investors can trust? And I think capital flows
Yeah.
toward trust. That's the main thing.
Capital flows towards trust.
Yes.
That is really the exclamation mark there.
Yes.
And if we remember one thing from this podcast, I think that is motivating. I think it's
Yes.
reassuring. And we don't always hear that, we don't always hear that message. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. And Michelle, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to contact you?
I think through my LinkedIn, which is Michelle Bernier, or my email, which is Michelle at libertyventures.xyz. I think those are the two main ways to get in touch with me.
And I'll put that in the show notes
Yes,
as
please.
well. And your last name, Bernier, is spelled Bernier, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And so definitely connect with Michelle on LinkedIn and email her. Go to the libertyventuresnetwork.com website. And I'm here to tell you, Michelle is just an example of one of the great people that Cinderella to CEO is fortunate to know. Our support system is real. It's not a fairy tale. We've been around for a while now, CinderellaCEO.com. We highlight what it takes to find proven paths to the palace. Around here, we're warriors who never give up. And we want you to shine too. And that's why we are focusing on capital funding and investment in this series and game-changing business success. And Michelle Bernier has told us today, she's kicked us off with this series, what it takes to structure your kingdom or your queendom, I like to say. And what I really love that she emphasized is that the trust factor is something that you have that internally as a person who wants to grow a business, and it's something that you interject into your business. Because a lot of us have been in the corporate world where we may have been in a situation, Michelle, or even if you work for an organization that's nonprofit, maybe the culture wasn't something that really resonated with you. And so you feel like it was maybe you. You felt like not you, Michelle, but somebody out there, and I felt it at one time that I couldn't connect to the culture. So I felt like a misfit. And that's what I think really propels people to go out and become entrepreneurs as well, is if you don't feel comfortable in the situation you're in, and you know that you have innovative ideas and you want to find a culture, a company, or start your own, there are ways to do this in a way that you can find that path to the palace. And so I want you to do that. I hope you'll listen to all of our podcasts, but this podcast in particular, if you want to find funding for your company, your organization, Liberty Ventures is going to be at South by Southwest on March 13th, if you're listening to this. And they're going to have an event in Austin again in October that you can find on their website. Michelle, you've given us a lot of great info to walk away with. Go to CinderellaCEO.com/podcast. to listen to this podcast and others. And we're on all the platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Please rate and review and share this podcast. And we'll be posting this, of course, on LinkedIn. Michelle, what have I left out? What else can we talk about?
I think just important reminders that capital flows toward trust, as we repeated
Capital
consistently.
flows through the
So,
word trust. Awesome.
yes, yes. And then also that you need to show up consistently. You need to show up consistently. You need to be there in the rooms, especially as a woman entrepreneur. You should not be allowing that they are talking about health or wellness or consumer brands without the woman perspective. Like you, as a founder, if you're bringing that unique perspective, you need to be on that room. And maybe right now you're not there because you're afraid, and you are afraid of what people will think of you. You're afraid of maybe of failure. But I think this path of entrepreneurship and venture capital, again, I think it will change the world. And that's why, and it is because it is full of failures, different failures that ultimately lead to their biggest reward, which is being able to solve a problem for millions of people. And you need to find information to help feel to help beat that fear that you have. Because again, if you know that you're going to get funded tomorrow, you wouldn't be afraid. If
Right?
you know that you will send your deck and someone will say yes, you wouldn't be afraid of sending that deck. So the only thing you need is information.
I love it so much. Michelle, you have shown in this podcast, and whether you're listening to us or watching this on YouTube, I told you, Michelle is approachable, and she's indicative of the type of people you can meet through her organization, Liberty Ventures. And with that, Michelle, let's keep doing this, okay? You're going to help me with
Yes.
this podcast series. We'll be talking
Yes.
to other people going forward. And
Yes.
I just wanted to thank you so much for your time and also just everything you've done and gone through and come to share your gifts with us and help others along the way and growing their businesses and just in being part of our network, but also being a friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carrie. There is no bigger reward than being your friend. And thank you so much for supporting me and for essentially motivate me to also be here with you. You know that it's complicated to take the courage to share your story,
Yes.
but and that's why I was saying, hey, I know many people maybe watching this podcast, it's afraid of going out there, to going out of these events, sharing the pitch deck, getting feedback, because it's scary, to receive the news that, oh, maybe you're not that interesting, or maybe you're not building that great product, or maybe you will not get that far. That's hard to listen to. But when you find people along the way, like I found you, that are willing to be your fairy godmothers, right? And say, hey,
Yeah.
no, get out there and do it and be yourself and be proud. I think that's one of the main rewards of doing this job, and surround me with the people I'm surrounded by.
Absolutely. Thank you for being inspirational, just being who you are. And let's keep the conversation going. And
Yes.
we'll talk very soon and talk about our next podcast with some more women founders and some more women investors. And hey, if you're men or women, we want you to listen and be part of this because everyone will benefit.
Yes.
Thank you
Let's
so
do
much,
it.
Michelle.
Thank you.